All right, we are live. Hopefully, I don't have too many technical difficulties. Uh, I'm not even going to introduce myself because by the time everybody sees this, my large audience, hopefully you'll have figured out what I look like by going through a video or two of mine. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Matt. I am one of the Revolver degenerates. You can find me on Discord, Instagram, a few other places. I don't really post a lot except for the Discord. I'm also in the AFR chat. Basically, anything you think about the name, it probably applies to me. So I'm here just to share some of my relevant experience with some of the new stuff coming out from these manufacturers.
All right, yeah. My only real experience is I toyed around with revolvers and I bought a 442 last year and shot the snot out of it, and then bought a 642 and a 632. So uh, I'd had good luck until the 642, but we'll get into that later. Let me see if I can get in this window. Where is it? All right. I guess this is kind of what spurred me to get on here. Is there were some people in the AFR chat talking about trying to hold manufacturers accountable and have a social media page. I figured a video is probably the easiest way, and maybe people could jump in and share some opinion. But this was posted about right after Revolver Fest, and I was pretty shocked by this. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I think the 32 UCs have probably had more issues than the 38s, but that may just be my opinion, which could be very well wrong. But do you want to give the summary? Because you are more of a revolver wizard than I am. I just put ammo in the gun and pull the trigger.
Sure thing. So essentially, the article is on revolverguy.com. You can read it at your leisure, but it goes through. I'm not sure if it was Justin who wrote it. I think it was. He had some experiences with a 432 and a 632 UC. I don't recall if they were tie variants. I don't think they were titanium. Regardless, he had some extensive issues with the guns and had one of them replaced. And I'm not sure if it came back right or not. But to name a few, he was having some hard trigger pulls. He had his hammer stop close to where the single action notch would be on a regular J frame. Being as it's a double action gun, it doesn't actually have one of those. So it was the double action only hammer getting caught up on the cylinder rebound block on the hammer dog. And that's a pretty unsafe situation that you can have pretty much with any revolver, is where that's being held on a sear without anything between it and it falling and detonating a primer. His solution was just to press it the rest of the way, I believe, or beat the cylinder open. I don't really recall. It's been a little while since I read it.
Let's see. I'm
But
trying to scroll down. There's so many issues. Here we
yep,
go.
there you go, right
For,
there.
for those who haven't read the article, that doesn't look real good.
That's in fact real bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was getting those really heavy trigger pulls on that 442 before it went back, and I think I would have had a real issue if I had gotten hung up like this. I know somebody said that it's a simple fix. You can massage some springs or take a little material off with a little bit of sandpaper, but I don't think this is something you should have to like fit. I mean, this isn't like 1970 and you're buying a 1911 and you're massaging it to try to get it to work and then sending it to some gunsmith to fix.
We had a gun writer in the PNS Discord when we were discussing this article mention that he's not a gun plumber. Why should he have to get into his gun and fix this? It should be right. He shouldn't have to do anything to the gun to make it serviceable. And I'll say that in the 20th century, Smith and Wesson was very much of the mind that the end user was not to open their gun up.
Well, like
You weren't
Taurus
supposed
is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Taurus explicitly says if you crack that side plate, bye-bye warranty.
Yep. Not that they could ever tell that you did that, but as long as you don't bugger the screws.
Or
But Smith
beat
and
it with a hammer or
Wesson
something.
absolutely sprung the gun and did what they could do it to ensure that, 100 years in the future, it would still be serviceable. You wouldn't have to pull that side plate. I mean, there's reasons to as an end user just to get it cleaned if you get it dunked in water or anything, but guns coming out of the factory like this are pretty much unacceptable.
So here we go. This is what you were talking about, right? The yellow spring deal. I don't know if he has the side plate cracked on this review or not, but this is kind of what you're talking about, right? In the guts.
Not quite. It would be up above that.
Okay. I was going to say probably one of those pieces I had difficulty when I had you on video chat. But I mean, they've also had headspace issues with these guns, right? I mean, I know this isn't the first post about Buffalo Bore. I know there was a post in Pistol Forum about the 32 H&R Buffalo Bore. I don't know if it blew a guy's gun up, but you can search for it. I know there was a lot of stuff that basically it came out that, well, they don't have lot numbers and that it's just crazy overpressure. And as you can see, I was this where he had to beat the cylinder open, or was this where the cylinder ended up after he shot the Buffalo Bore?
I believe in the article he shot the Buffalo Bore.
It locked the gun totally up, right? And that's why he had to beat it open
entirely, and he got it open. I don't think it locked the cylinder up. I think he beat the cylinder open when he had the trigger. But he ended up not being able to extract that casing out of this chamber, so he ended up taking a stapler and beating it open. Hey, look, it's a guy.
Yeah, hey, we were hoping you'd jump on.
What up?
Okay, well, do you want to just kind of give you a quick introduction? And then maybe you can give a little more insight into some of the UC issues that we've seen?
Sure. Gosh, my camera's crooked as hell, isn't it?
That's okay. You're giving people something to look at aside from our default profile pictures.
Yeah, the default profile pictures.
I like the dog. He's pretty spiffy.
Awesome. All right, you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Sweet. First of all, 386, fuck yeah.
Yes.
Just start with that. She's sweet, baby. She's sweet. Anyway, yeah, the UC issues. I have not personally experienced the UC issues because I don't have one of the new UCs. However, I can say anecdotally and through some personal experience with other people's guns, it's kind of like, it seems like Smith hasn't taken the extra 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the build process to run these through more than maybe just a basic function test. And that's kind of the issue. Is a lot of people with these guns, they might not shoot more than 50 to 100 rounds in the lifetime of the gun. And what we run into is people who actually go out and use these guns, they will find these little tweaks, these twerks. Why did I say twerk? These little the tweaks, the issues where a person who's going to put 20 rounds of ammo through it and then carry it and not shoot it more ever isn't going to find. And like, for example, I put like, this is kind of the big boy equivalent of those UC guns. And I put like 75 rounds through this today, and that's a pretty decent amount for a gun this light when you're shooting even light mags. And these little light guns are just not easy to shoot, and they have a lot of recoil for the size. Even the 32s have a pretty decent amount of recoil, and as a result, people aren't going to shoot them a bunch. Most people aren't going to shoot them a bunch,
except for me.
Right. But people are going to end up not finding that there are burrs which weren't cleaned out and over time work into the action. People are not going to find that, hey, maybe a screw which should have had some thread locker on it doesn't have thread locker on it, as what you're seeing there with the cylinder latch working its way off, if that's what that is.
Which I've had that happen on all 3 examples that I have. I know that's
every Revolver will do it. Every single one.
I know it's not a big deal, but I mean, that's what, 30 seconds. You throw some Loctite on it and put a screwdriver in the factory.
Yeah, in fact, I need to do it on this 386. It doesn't have any and I kind of just I tightened it before I went shooting, and I noticed it was working its way a little bit loose again this evening. So while we're talking, I'm going to put just the tiniest little dab on there. It's probably the only part of this gun that has no thread locker on it. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I will throw this out there. We're looking at the picture of the front sight. I've had this issue. All of the pins walk. I know it's not a big deal. You can take 2 punches, hit the pin, and it won't move.
Yep. So you can throw those out. The other option is when XS, if you buy a set of their sights and install them on your Revolver, they tell you to red Loctite them in place. Now, I don't use red or blue. I use purple just because of ease of removal. You don't need a heck of a lot of yank on those to get them to stay in place, but it seems like that's something that should be happening from the factory.
Yeah. So you see this industrial size bottle? This is like, I don't know, 8 years old, and I have used that much of it, and I have put a lot of thread locker on various things, and I have blue Loctite and other stuff, and so I have this, and then recently, because y'all were talking about it, I picked up a stick, and the stick is really nice because you can kind of just like on a bagel, you give it a little schmear, but I was gonna use
I
this.
even got the badass super anti-walk pin that one of the guys off AFR sent me, and I replaced it, and the pin still walks. So is that
Physics be a harsh mistress?
I don't know if that's on me, but I guess I just need to hit all of the front sights with 2 punches and call it a day.
Well,
I know there were also the tritium issues on the early guns, right, where they were going out or fading.
Yep, your green or whatever color front sight would end up turning brown because the tritium would break, and it'd be a little smear. You'd have it. We've seen it in local shops a couple times. They've come in with broken vials.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Yeah, I've seen that on a couple of guns, and some of that could probably be blamed on Smith, and some of it can be blamed on maybe some QC for XS and the other companies, to where the seals they're putting are breaking under recoil or breaking under handling, and as a result, the tritium's going bad. But yeah, these various issues, the pins specifically, they're not putting the pins in the gun with a punch and a hammer. They're using a jig. And why does this jig not flare the end of the pins?
Because that would take an extra quarter of a second on each side of the operation, and that would therefore slow down their productivity.
And again, here's another thing I've got is, early on, I would have rather them had like the front sight be, a notch and post setup or just a square notch. I can deal with the UC, the rounded dot, like the big dot. I shot big knots on a Glock 19. But, the 632 I've got, I can just get the dot, I don't have to bury it. This 642, I'm having to bury the dot to get, point of impact hits. Don't have to do that on the 442. I don't know what the deal is. Same ammo, more or less. So
have you measured the height of the front and the rear sight?
Man, what I understand is the only thing that's different is the height of the barrel. It's the same sight. Probably need to do that. I'm not really that concerned about it right now. It's just something to note. And I know a lot of people don't like the sight picture. I can live with it. I mean, for what I'm going to use the gun for, it's perfectly adequate. And I'm just honestly happy that you've got a small gun with a real set of sights on it. So bravo for that.
Well, you probably saw a couple of weeks ago when I posted after Revolver Fest, Kenny, the guy I came with, he left his 66.8 with me for Hammer Bob little action work. And this is not to speak poorly about XS, but they were there, and I don't know if it was Monty or someone else kind of mushed up the front sight pin, and they weren't able to swap his sights, so I took care of it for him. But but that sight, the XS sights, especially for like the bigger guns. I mean, I've never been a big fan of like the big dot style sight, but even so, like I I posted like, I don't know, was it a 1.25 inch group at 10 yards with his 66.8. So I mean, the sights are perfectly adequate. It's just a matter of whether or not you enjoy the sight picture.
And I think the small dot is perfectly at home on a revolver. I like the big dots, but the whatever you want to call them, better on a revolver than I do any semi-auto. I don't know if it's a sight regulation or just how my eye picks up, but I don't like the V channel notch. That like you dot the eye. I don't like that sight picture. I like the.
That's what that's the sights this had on it. And
okay.
Again, I can shoot it just fine. It doesn't mean I like it.
They've got you've got a different set of. You've got the actual rear, right? The actual like channel.
So the rear sight that came on these mountain lights is that V notch sight, and then it's got a fiber pipe for the front sight. And these are
through here. Let's see.
This is high vis. This is not XS, but it's that same type of it's the same type of sight where you have the V and then you kind of put the dot in. You float it on top of the V and you drive the dot to hit the sight.
Okay, yeah. So the minimalist sights, that's what I like that they make for the revolver. I don't like the DX, whatever they are, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen now unless there's anything y'all think is worth pulling up. I will say I do like the brass front sight that they've got on the SOA guns. I think that's really cool. I just don't know how I'd like it if I shot it. So
I like the idea of it, but I don't have any experience with it, so I can't speak to the effectiveness.
Give me just a second. I'll grab a couple guns that I have those XS sights on, and I'll show them for you.
Yeah, you've got that minimalist rear on one, don't you?
Yes. So I tend to swap them out. What ends up happening is if you're shooting 158 grain lead, like a 4-inch 38, you will have a sight picture that is awesome, and you will have sights that are regulated right to like 15 yards. And they'll be great. But if you want to shoot basically anything else, kind of hosed as far as elevation goes, I end up using the factory adjustable rear with the XS front more often than not.
And what are you shooting, the top of the post, or are you shooting to the dot?
Oh, I struggled with it on the 19 carry comp, the 3-inch. It ended up doing me about a 2 3/4 inch barrel sight picture. And it ended up just making me string vertically at 10 yards. But on the 4-inch, whether I'm using the rear sight or my factory adjustable, I've got enough equal height and light with that big dot to really print the gun pretty well.
Okay. We roughly covered this. I know some of the early 32s had some headspace issues. I don't know if that was what contributed to some of the light strikes, but I do remember. Oh, heck. I'll add him in here. Some people talking about sending guns back to Smith for headspace
issues. There's kind of a combination of factors leading into that, and it's not just the 32s. It's pretty much over time. I have seen. This is not personal information. This is information I've gathered from other people. Is over time, as California's drop tests have gotten more and more retarded, that they have shortened by 1 or 2 thousandths over time, again and again and again, that floating firing pin that sits in the frame. And when you combine that with they want to give people a gun where they pick the gun up and they go, "Ooh, that's nice." So you have a firing pin that's I want to say nominally they're right just shy of 1/2 inch is ideal. Nelson can probably speak more intelligently about that, but it's like you get the factory firing pins these days and they're like 10 thousandths, 12 thousandths, 14 thousandths shorter than that. And when you have a moderately light mainspring that's driving the hammer, and you have a slightly shortened firing pin, and then you have a combination of like right now, even still, we're dealing with post-COVID. There's the whole conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict happening, and as a result, it's really put a hurt on companies and their ability to get consistent primers. And so when you have primers that aren't like the OG style, like Federal or Winchester, where the thickness of the metal and the actual construction of the metal is really consistent batch to batch, you have a batch where these guns all of a sudden they're having 1 in 3, 1 in 5 light strikes because they're right at that ragged edge to begin with. So then you make that material just a tiny bit too hard or a tiny bit too thick, and then they won't set it off, which is why you look at like the Apex kit for J's. It comes with an extending firing pin. Why a lot of people recommend an extended firing pin. I have one in my carry comp. I have one in this 65. I put one in this. Like, as far as I'm concerned, lock, delete, and extended firing pin are a combination. And like, this gun is old enough that it probably didn't need it, but there was about 2.5 thousandths difference in the length of the firing pin between an extended and the one that was in this gun, which I believe is factory. But like that tiny little bit can make the difference between a gun firing and a gun not firing.
Nelson, do you mind introducing yourself, and then we can just kind of carry on? I want to try to figure out how I can pull up my finish issues.
Yeah, no worries. I'm Eric Nelson. I own Nelson Gunsmithing. I know Dave pretty well. What's up, buddy? Been a minute. Thanks for letting me jump in. Oh, we're revolver experts. That's what we do. Shit, that's why I'm here.
Wizards. So just real quick, I'm going to try to pull it up, but I bought a 642 22nd of August, and 5-6 days later, I've got the finish coming off the backstrap. Literally, all I did was put the gun in the holster, and I got finish coming off. Now it's severe. It's a lot more severe now. I don't know if I've got some kind of super acidic ammonia, filled sweat. I don't know. But I know that there were rust issues on the rear sights, which to me, that's not a problem. I can't keep the rust off my cylinder for my 442. Kind of looks like it's been drugged behind a truck if you did see it at Revolver.
Some people do have the alien sweat issue. It's a thing.
But neither here nor there. But I know that was another thing that has come up that people have complained about.
Yeah, I mean, I part of it, if you have that, and some people do, and I don't know what the chemistry is, but for some people carrying a gun, it's like it's as bad as carrying it in a maritime environment. There are some things you can do to remedy it, like a really aggressive oiling schedule helps. Skater tape, I know Dave's a big fan of that. That helps quite a bit too. There's always Cerakote too. Cerakote tends to hold up a lot better against those kind of contaminants. It may be an option to consider if that's a consistent problem for you. Something to just off the top of my head.
I've found that that a good like outdoors use wax based product can really help as well. Like, I'm a fan. It's really expensive per ounce, but like Axe Wax, it's a combination of beeswax and a couple other products. And I have a toothbrush that I only use for that, and I have scrubbed rust. My carry comp, I've scrubbed rust out of the thumb piece so many times, and it's just if I wear it too much too long without scrubbing it, it'll start developing surface rust. My 442 kind of same thing, the thumb piece and the stainless cylinder, because the 442 one, the Pro that came moon clip cut and everything, and the cylinder is supposed to be stainless, but it still develops surface rust. And I found that that waxing, and it just depends on how much you're shooting it and how aggressively you're cleaning it as far as when you need to re-wax. But I found that really helps.
Because I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with it. I'm probably going to go Google it real quick. What did you say it was?
Axe Wax.
Axe Wax. Hold on, I'll grab the can so you can see it.
Renaissance wax can have a similar effect. It is less susceptible to weather. It's really meant for as opposed to adverse conditions.
Okay.
I threw a link in there too if anyone wants it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
nice
wanna
thing
say
about
it's
wax
about-
is that it's chemically neutral. Like it cannot hurt your gun. The only thing you've got to watch out for is getting water infiltrating underneath it. But if you do like what David says, you just make it part of your weekly, bi-weekly maintenance. You know, when you pull out to your dry fire, you can keep like a little rag in your dry fire kit. When you're okay, I'm going to dry fire today. Cool. I'm going to take a minute here and just kind of meh.
Okay. Are there any other like UC specific issues? I feel like we've kind of beat this one to death. I was going to move on to, I guess, Taurus. We'll give somebody else some grief for a second.
Well, I was going to say one big thing with the UCs and some Tori, and more importantly, a lot of the nicer Smiths with that special performance center logo, you end up having an issue with your ratchets and your hands. So I had that issue with my M&P R8 where the hand was actually too long. And Brian with a Y tells me that's because they're trying to keep the guns in time a little bit longer from the factory. I was getting very heavy trigger presses on 2 chambers out of that gun, and I'm seeing that happen a lot with the UC line as well, especially the 32s.
That's a quality assurance issue. Like that's just being lazy at the factory, and it's something it's an issue that a lot of manufacturers are having because actually getting out and speccing your hands correctly takes time. And a lot of them just, if your hand is over long, at most you're engaging the ratchet a little longer. It should deflect off the back of the teeth at the top of the stroke. Where you start running into issues if it's so long that it's actually engaging the teeth before the bolt's really been able to clear. That's where it starts locking up. Fortunately, hand fitting, well, I should take that back. I was going to say hand fitting is not hard, but I do a lot of it.
Well, hand fitting's not hard until it is, because it's like
Yeah.
one stroke too many, done.
You're done. You fucked it up.
Yeah.
So that is exactly my experience. Y talked me through it. I kept going. Oh, now the gun doesn't carry up on those chambers.
Yeah.
It actually ended up being the ratchets more than anything else than the hand in my gun.
The ratchet
I've got a couple
geometry is very sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah, especially on the guns that are not 5-shot J frames and 6-shot K frames.
So do you guys, I may be able to pull it up, but the 856 that I sent a picture of, that the ratchet literally looked like Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally flat. That's been my only complaint that I routinely see with the Taurus guns is, I mean, it looks like, I guess you called it file chatter, but it literally looks like somebody just smooths the ratchets over.
Oh, I've got my 905 in front of me. I'll turn my camera on here. You
Yeah.
can get the front
Yeah, I
facing
mean,
one.
based off the pictures I've seen, it straight up looks like someone's using a double cut bastard file to fit it for length, and they just don't finish it. They just, okay, it fits. We're done.
Yep. So I've got my camera on, trying to get a pretty good view of that
Yeah.
set of ratchets there. They are ugly.
I have a hypothesis. I can't say it's really confirmed. I suspect it's a heat treating issue because it comes down to a fight of what's the harder metal. Is it the hand or is it the ratchet? And especially if you have any kind of a timing issue whatsoever, especially like with your bolt. And that's, if you think about, because your trigger touches your bolt, that's the first order of operation, right? Flicks your bolt out of the way. And if that is undersized, the bolt is still going to keep your cylinder latched. That'll increase tension on the hand as it tries to power the cylinder through. So it all kind of adds up. So it's partly a heat treat issue. Sometimes it's a manufacturing issue where the hand is not finished with the right angle on the face. I'm sorry, I didn't do it with my hand gestures. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
There's a very, it's not the most specific angle in the world, but it does need to be clean. It needs to be flat edged. And if the hand is fuckered up the least little bit and there's a little too much tension on the back of the ratchet and the heat treat's not quite right, they'll just cut each other apart.
Yeah. I know the combination of the bolt unlocking and the hand length is a pretty common issue with Kimbers, since we're throwing shade. A couple of them that I've played with, it's like if you kind of fiddle with the trigger and get it at the right angle, the bolt unlocks before it starts pressing on the cylinder, but usually that involves like jamming the trigger all the way to one side or the other to kind of to get it to line up correctly. That seems to be a pretty common thing with the Kimbers. So, since we're throwing shade, it's like everyone has these things going on right now.
You guys
Revolver
gotta
world is what it is.
Something to remember too is that, revolvers are clockworks. And with like a Glock, right, you've got every part hands the job off to the next part. There's very little that happens in sync. With revolver, you have the hammer, the trigger, the hand are all working at the exact same time. And so they have to unlock in a very specific order. When that order gets fuckered, that's when you start seeing accelerated wear. And that's where you start seeing things like your ratchet getting scratched up. You start having your cylinder seize on that first pull.
Yeah.
It's not a design that lends itself to mass manufacturing. I'll put it that way.
Nope, absolutely not. They, much like 1911s, are the guns from an era when labor to make them was cheaper than the materials.
Well, it's like the Colt Pythons. Like the reason the old pre-80s Pythons were so good is because they literally had master gunsmiths putting them together. It's like Nighthawk. Like when you went to Colt, you got a Python. That was a gunsmith built that gun from start to finish. Now they've got armors. They've got kids they pay, $15-20 an hour, and they just throw parts at it till it works to a given degree of works.
Nelson, is there anything more specifically like you see with Taurus guns that you do work on? I mean, they're pretty solid from what I understand. You can fix most of your issues by changing some springs around and improving your trigger pull, and they just kind of work, right?
They're a simpler mechanism. I don't want to say simple in a bad way. They are a more economical mechanism. They eliminate the rebound housing from the Smith and Wesson. They also move the yoke spring back to a different position. Again, they're a little simpler to work on. To be honest with you, we're getting better results out of the Tauruses that we're working on than out of the Smiths or the Colts. Like no joke. Like the two best guns we have ever done. One of them is an RP63 that Caleb Giddings has. And then the other one's a 1965 Model 10 that just the stars aligned and it's perfect. But honestly, the RP63 is as good as anything we've ever done in the shop. They're just, the Taurus and Rossi guns are solid and they're easy to work on.
It's damn good to know. I've really kind of changed my mind in the last few years about Taurus. I eventually picked up an 856 executive grade, and it has been a great little gun. I've started carrying it, which is pretty much the greatest endorsement I can give it. This 905, I haven't shot it yet. The action's a little heavy. I've been rolling it dry, right and left-handed. I think I'm up to about 1,500 dry presses now, and it's doing good. It's really good to hear that Taurus, of all of them, is building a pretty solid base gun.
The only problem with that gun, though, you don't have any hook grips for it. That's the biggest problem.
I do have a set of Hamry Forge boot grips sitting over here from before he started doing his sintering operations, but no, I don't have any hook grips.
What about the executive series? Are you seeing any of those guns come through your way, or?
No. I think my action work is better. Like not to brag, but but you're also paying, for me it's $225 for us to work our magic on a gun, and the executive grade's like $150 over the base unit, and it's about 80% of the way towards what we can do. Like I would see a lot less improvement going from an executive like a Nelson Custom than I do from the base model Taurus to a Nelson Custom. But again, it's the same design principles. What you're really paying for is, again, that QA QC compliance. You've got some dudes sitting there with micrometers specking out parts. You've got people rejecting parts at a higher rate, stricter testing standards, that kind of thing. They are the same gun. It's just the executive's a little better finished, and it's a little better put together, and it's a little better checked.
Yeah,
I agree with you on every bit of that, except for the grips. The grips are atrocious on almost all of them.
The first thing I do when I get a revolver is I change the grips out.
I think everybody who actually uses these guns does that. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to. I mean, that's the whole point of a revolver. They have the most universally adjustable grip. You don't like the grip? Cool. Go buy a new one. Go buy literally anything. Get the craziest shit you want. There's no reason not to. It's a screw holds it in.
Yeah. Or
hey, Kitty.
Take it off the gun and attack it with a file or a belt sander or whatever and make it the shape and size you want. I mean, gosh.
Hell yes.
Like we were talking about the other day, Matt, is that guy that I just popped up in my YouTube algorithm while I'm doing other stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's 629 review. Sure, I'll let it play in the background. And he's like, man, this gun comes with these great wood grips. And I was like, hold on a minute. And I paused and I took that picture I sent to you guys, and it's like the horns they're square and they're sharp. It's like, and he's wearing like these big padded gloves when he shoots the gun because it hurts to shoot a gun that's got square horns on it. And he's going, the grips are great. No, they're not. Change them.
Yeah, there are no points for wood grips, man. Just get rubber grips. Hell, I run rubber grips. I'll own it. I don't care.
I have, not to sidebar too far from our discussion tonight, but I have been playing the game of wood grips versus rubber versus all this, and I am finding that the best course of action for me is just not shoot magnums as much anymore.
Valid.
Or shoot moderate loads. Don't shoot any of the full house, full pressure stuff.
It's
So
not
tying that back
you
in,
need to kill on both ends.
So tying that back into the 632 issues with Buffalo Bore, why is it that everyone insists on sticking the biggest freaking Magnum everything that they can in their guns, whether it's a J-frame or a 500 Smith?
Because it says Magnum on it, and rah, I have nuts. That means I have to put the biggest most powerful stuff the gun can shoot in it because it says so on the side.
Precisely.
Guess what I carry in my 327 when I carry it?
Wads.
32 shorts.
Very obsolescent, but I'm sure it works just fine.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You think about it, right? Like, I could go to 327 FedMac, which is very spicy. And it's a lot of wasted energy out of a 2 or 3 inch barrel, right? You really need like a 5-inch barrel to optimize that. David, back me up if I'm wrong. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
That's about right. I think five is about the, that's right in the, somewhere in the 4 to 6 range is really ideal for a 327.
So, and you need a certain amount of mass and a certain amount of velocity to get the kind of expansion and, the temporary or the permanent wound cavity you want. And pistols suck at permanent wound cavities anyway. Go get Matt Landfair on a tear about that.
Yes. It is glorious.
Yeah.
So
pistols
if you're
poke holes that leak.
If you're going to carry something small, I say go something that's got the least amount of recoil that still meets my minimum penetration spec. 32 Smith and Wesson wad cutters will absolutely do that. They will perforate 14 to 18 inches of meat and leave a perfect little 32 caliber hole.
In short, I thought long was the smallest caliber.
Long.
Long.
Sorry, long.
So that was why I reacted the way I did. You can shoot 32 short in those.
You can.
Have fun finding ammo.
They're 100 and some grain wad cutters at like a little over 700 feet per second.
Yep.
Like just over 100 grains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're fun to shoot. That's the best thing. You can take it to the range. Like I load those in my I've got an SP 101, a Ruger SP 101. I load that up in there. It's like shooting a 22. It is just ridiculously fun. It's low key. You don't feel like you're hurting yourself. You're not pushing yourself too hard. You can go to the range and blow a couple boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And you just like, oh, that was a fun day. My hands don't hurt.
Yeah.
Anything else on Taurus? I've got a short list. I was going to move on unless anybody wanted to say anything else.
The only other Taurus stuff I'd want to touch is on the new 66 Combat. I shot one at Revolver Fest and found it to be awesome, but I'm seeing a lot of reports online that they are going out of time relatively quickly.
And I think that's an issue of heat treating with the ratchet, because it seems like the ratchets are wearing out super quick. Which I think is interesting because it probably should use about an identical ratchet to the 692, and you don't hear that happening with 692s.
Yep.
And I mean, really, when it comes to if someone is a new revolver person and they want to get into like 38 357, but they shoot, 9mm plastic pistols like all of us do, the 6.92 is a heck of a choice. Because I mean, there's not anything else on the market that's really, unless you're talking about like a convertible Blackhawk. But for a double action revolver, there's not a comparable product really. That's
In that
one
price
product.
range.
What's that?
In that price range.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I talked to Caleb about 6.92 before I bought mine, and he was like, yeah, the executive grade is probably worth it. I'd recommend you go for the executive grade. And I was like, cool. And I start looking around, and I found one that was lightly used for like, I don't know, $400. And I want to say wholesale's just under $5. And I was like, okay. And that's for the standard one. Then the executive grade, like Eric was saying, about $150 more. And I was like, heck, I haven't had the 357 cylinder in it, and I probably won't ever. And like I bought it specifically to shoot 9mm. And it's like, well, if I can get it cheaper, I'll do the plumbing on it, and I'll do the fiddling, and I'll do the making things all matchy and do that extra bit, and it won't say executive grade on the side, and it won't be as pretty on the outside, but heck, it works. And I mean, as you guys have seen, that gun shoots like it is way more accurate than I can shoot it with a 9mm, and it's a 357 bore in it. So as far as for the niche it fits in, I think that's, and I know the comp thing, people give or take, especially if you consider competition stuff, but like that's for someone who's revolver curious, who shoots 9 already. I don't know that there's anything else on the market better than it right now.
But when I raised that exact concern, I was told, stand by.
What, with the comp?
Regarding 9mm revolvers in general.
Oh, yeah.
Stand by.
Yeah, I love how Caleb does that. He's kind of edgy about stuff, and he's like, I can't talk about it. Just wait a few months. You're like, okay.
Hey, so let me ask you a question, Dave.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with revolvers and 9mm has always been the issue of bullets walking out of the crimp. Do you feel like they've gotten around that finally? Is that becoming less of a problem, or is it still like a concern?
I would say it depends on the ammo. I shoot almost exclusively Spear Lawman in mine. I have shot some S&B, and it doesn't like it because S&B brass is a little longer. It's a couple thousandth longer, so it tends to be sticky. And I've also shot some HSTs through it, and I mean, the like HSTs are neck sealed. They're pretty well crimped. Lawman stuff, it's roll crimped. It's not super hard, but it, like, I'll shoot 6 out of the 7. Look at the last one, and there's no evidence of bullet pulling. So if anyone's watching this later, what we're talking about is the recoil force that goes into the gun. If the bullet, here, let's use one of these. So the bullet is this part, and if this part is not attached to the case strongly enough, what will happen is the same way people can use a hammer and pull a bullet out of a case with these special hammers, is you're using the inertia is pulling the case back with the rest of the gun. The recoil inertia is pulling the case back hard enough and fast enough that the bullet, because it's the heaviest part of a cartridge, not these training cartridges, but a real cartridge, the bullet's the heaviest part. So it's the slowest part to move. And as a result, when the case gets pulled back with the cylinder, because it's attached to the cylinder, with this being a 38, or if it was a 9mm, with a moon clip, but that it's physically attached to the cylinder, so it moves with the gun under that inertia from the recoil, and the bullet being the heaviest part stays in place longer. Yeah, like Matt's showing right there. So the bullet stays in place longer, and if the bullet and case mouth are not attached strongly enough, the bullet will start to pull forward and separate from that case mouth, and it can cause the whole gun to lock up, because it can pull forward enough to engage with the frame and the cylinder to try to move, and it can't because it's stuck. If it's a longer case like 38, 357, 32, any of the cases that are full length in the cylinder, but for 9mm, being that it's shorter than most cylinders you put it in, what'll end up happening is the bullet will come out, and you'll try and shoot it, and it'll go poof instead of bang, and then you'll probably end up with a bullet a quarter inch, half inch into the barrel because there's not enough actual pressure from that powder burning to send it downrange.
It's a catastrophic failure. Like the gun is done. You got to have a gunsmith fix it when that happens.
Yeah. Don't stick a cleaning rod down your barrel and start hitting things with a hammer. Bad things happen.
Oh man, don't get between me and my hammer time now.
Hey, there are certain applications where a hammer is necessary, but a metal cleaning rod stuck down a barrel and being struck with a hammer, not the best course of action under almost any circumstance.
I never want any of you guys looking over my shoulder when I work. You would shit bricks.
All
right. Well, with that,
sometimes you got to do ignorant stuff to fix things. I get that 100%.
Can we go back to Smith? Because I've been watching a lot of, was it Nightwood Guns? I've been watching a lot of his Revolver content, and it seems like anything he's got is 50-50. It seems like Matt and I talked before that, the 642s and the 442, the regular guns, they seem to be fairly solid, but anything else, it's like a 50-50 shot. It's hit or miss, whether you have like a minor issue that, you can live with, or something that's major that's going to require either you to send it to somebody like Eric or Nelson Ford, or send it back to the factory. So
that's about the only saving grace with any of these is that you have a factory warranty on most guns if you're the original owner. I had to send my R8 back. I think any of these weird guns, whether they're a J-frame 6-shot, an N-frame 8-shot like this, the Wheat M&P R8 here,
nice.
This had to go back to the factory. Came back in about 4 weeks, and it was right.
It's funny. Like, actually, I had this conversation with someone today. He got a CZ that was giving him issues, and I was, I kind of talked him through it over the phone. I said, yeah, I can fix it. CZs are double action guns. But, I've been asking people, like, why don't you just want to ship it back to the factory? It's under warranty. And surprisingly, there's a lot of people who it's like, I know it's under warranty. I know they pay for shipping. I'm just not comfortable shipping it out of the state to get it worked on, or I don't want it to be gone for 30, 60, 90 days, which some companies are kind of bad like that. Like Ruger, you could be a couple months at a minimum. It smells like Smith is on top of it. I think Taurus is pretty good about it. But CZ was telling him 60 to 90 days that his gun is just out there getting worked on. And that's even the warranty thing stops people. It surprises me because I'm lazy as shit. I'm like, well, my gun's not working. I'll just ship it off to wherever and get it worked on. If it's something I don't feel like I can easily do.
Yeah, totally.
I hate sending guns off to be fixed. I don't even like sending them off for gunsmith work. I don't like any of that. I would rather do it myself. That's just because I am a combination of being cheap, and I don't like having stuff that's not in my hands. However, I've sent a lot of guns back to the factory after breaking them, and that's kind of just a fact of life. You got to just get over it and send it back, or find a local smith who can do it, or send it to somebody like Nelson Gunsmithing or Scott Van Dorsten or Dave Lubbard at Defensive Creations. Just what you got to do to get the guns back up and running if you can't handle it yourself.
One tip I'll give everybody who's ever watching this: if you've had any work done on your gun, do not ever send it back to the factory, because Ruger, I know, they will take every part out of that gun that looks like it's been worked on, and they'll throw it out. And I know this because we've had, like our bread and butter work is single action revolvers, and we had a customer who was like, "Oh, my gun went down." He shipped it back to Ruger. They looked at all the parts that we had worked on and very carefully tuned and said, nope, these are out of spec. And they just pitched them. Not because they were out of spec, but because it had obviously been worked on at some point. Yeah. So this guy had, again, $225 action job. Ruger threw it in the trash. He got all his parts back. He got his gun back. It's just something to bear in mind. If you got any kind of a custom thing on your gun, you got to go to a custom shop to get it worked on after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll work on my revolvers and, a couple of friends and whatnot. But like, as far as my shop, we don't take normal gunsmithing work, but like, the stuff I've dealt with is like, hey, I have a 105-year-old registered machine gun, and this plunger broke. So it shut the whole gun down, and we have to look at what's left of the plunger and make a new part. that's kind of the stuff that we end up needing to do. Or we have to source and spec a spring because the spring broke, and this spring controls the timing in the gun, and it just doesn't work without it. And so we have no idea what the spring rate is. No one's ever written that down anywhere, so we got to figure this stuff out. And working on stuff like this is just, in comparison, not that I'm saying everyone should take their gun apart and get out a file or a Dremel. That's how you make your gun not work.
Don't listen to him. Do it.
Make sure to go to Lowe's, buy all the tools to get you just in enough trouble to completely screw your gun up, and then give somebody else money.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Give me your money. I will take your money. I love guns in a bag. It's great.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, maybe you can help me out with this, because I don't talk to the manufacturers as far as getting parts. It kind of apparently comes and goes for being able to source parts from the manufacturers. Can you speak to that?
Me?
Yes.
Oh man, it's a bitch. Even I got a really good relationship with Taurus, obviously, but like if I need anything more than like basic springs and parts, I got to call Caleb up and beg him to help me out. Smith and Wesson probably has the best aftermarket support because literally everybody makes Smith and Wesson parts. Apex Gunworks makes a ton of stuff. You mentioned them earlier. There's a lot of outfits that do. So in terms of aftermarket support, Smiths and Colts, Smiths far and away, and Taurus, because Taurus mostly uses like 98% commonality with Smith. I don't know. It's so weird how some of these outfits, like Taurus, won't sell you hammers. Like if you're just like, oh hey, listen, I want to convert this to a bobbed hammer, a DAO hammer. They won't sell you a DAO hammer. That's on the restricted list for some reason. You can get screws, you can get some springs and some onesie twosie parts. I don't know why, but they've been the easiest to work with, and they're still kind of hard to work with.
So I got a hold of Smith and Wesson and asked them to send me a 22 mag mainspring for my 43C because the damn thing just kept light striking all over the place. I said, oh hey, can I get one of these? And they said, no, that's a restricted part.
Yeah, that was
I had to go and buy one.
I had, and maybe somebody can clear it up. What is the deal with the 43Cs? I really want one, but it's so hit or miss. It's like they have problems, but the 351Cs don't. Can somebody enlighten me why that would be? Is it just a difference in ammo quality?
It's so from my experience with making the 317 I bought, which is just it just has less material in the back and a bodyguard hammer as opposed to a Centennial hammer. But at least mine does. The new ones I think have a full size hammer, don't they?
Yeah.
I want to say
they only come in 3-inch.
Yeah. There is a combination of it's an aluminum cylinder, and this same thing with the 43C. It's aluminum cylinder. So you have burning pitting issues with cartridges, burning pitting, and also fouling issues with cartridges not wanting to seat all the way because a little bit of fouling builds up. And then you also have a combination of, and that's why Matt was talking about the 22 mag mainspring. It's a couple of pounds heavier than the mainspring. Is it 4? Okay. Yeah, it's a couple pounds heavier than the mainspring, which comes in the 22 revolvers, which are a couple pounds heavier than the mainsprings, which come in your other J-frames. And that's to set off the priming compound to hit it hard enough. And so you have a combination of that, and the issue I mentioned earlier, which is to make these guns drop safe, they've made the firing pins shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's a matter of figuring out how much spring you need, how much firing pin you need, and whether or not you can get that cylinder to cooperate where you don't have to, after 2 cylinders through it, clean it so the ammunition will actually seat enough. Because if the ammunition's not seated all the way, when you press that trigger, that firing pin strike is going to seat the round as opposed to crush the rim and set off the priming compound.
The other part of the problem is hammer mass. And that's one of the reasons I don't advertise work on 22 revolvers, is that if you got like a K-frame, you got that big K-frame or N-frame, you got that big heavy hammer. It's got all that. You got to think about in terms of your arc travel and your spring tension and the mass, right? Force, mass, acceleration, kinetic energy, etc. Bigger, heavier hammer with the heavier spring, more consistent ignition. It's great in the K-frame. Like the Smith and Wesson K22 is a fantastic gun. But one of the reasons we don't like working on those guns is because we give them back to people like, well, the hammer pull still, or the trigger pull is still really heavy. I'm like, yeah, because it's a 22-pound mainspring, hammer mainspring, 26 pounds. And then like revolvers, like J frames, 18 to 20 pounds is a little more recommended. I've pushed them down quite a bit lower than that with some work, and they're oversprung to shit from the factory. So you think about like you go from this mainspring, which is like 14 pounds, it works in a J frame, but you're trying to scale up a 22. You're trying to scale down a 22 K frame down to a J frame. It's smaller, lighter, shorter arc, shorter throw, weaker spring, you name it. And that's a big part of the problem there too. On top of unpredictable primer ignition in 22, which is an issue for everybody in every part of the shooting world.
Yeah, like to get my 317 running, it was barely running, and someone had removed the floating hammer block out of it, and that was putting just enough friction in the action that it stopped it from working properly. And so then I put who did I get that spring from? I want to say it was either Apex or Power Custom. It wasn't the regular 22 spring. It was the extra heavy 22 spring. Mm-hmm. So my trigger pull is like 15 plus pounds in that gun. It's super smooth because I did all the, I made sure where everything touches and everything moves is proper. But in order to make it work properly, just had to up that spring rate enough. And I mean, it's a very reliable gun now, but people pick it up and they go, holy crap. It's like, well.
So do we have anything else on Smith? I mean, I'm partial to Smith, so I've got a pile of comp 1s for the J's and comp 2s for the K's. Anything else before we move on?
If you want to talk about Smith accessories.
Yeah, go for it.
Since I just picked up this 386, I got a couple of the new, new as in they've been, what are they, 5 or 6 years now? The guy in Japan's been making these SL variants. People have mentioned, including Chris Baker, who I've talked to about this, that the way the originals worked as far as press in, turn to adjust the angle, at one point when the guy who was making them, that didn't work. And these two, I bought 2 from the guy, and I got them like 2 days ago. They work properly now as far as adjusting the cartridge feed angle. So just as an FYI, and they seem to be functional and high quality. And I had dummy and live rounds in them, and I was throwing them up in the air today and stuff, and they retain the rounds properly. And then this guy right here, this 5-star, the button press loader. I'm not a fan of twist loaders for some reason. It's like plugging in a Type A USB. You go, it's this way. No, it's not. Oh, it's this way. No, it still doesn't work. Wait, back to the original way. Okay, now we're plugged in. I tend to do that with the twist button loaders. I don't know. I just go kind of retarded and can't figure out which way to turn them. So the idea of a push button loader. So the button is here. Each round is spring loaded. So this is a positive feed loader where when you activate the mechanism, each round is pressed by an individual spring to drive it into the chamber. So this is called a positive feed loader. This is a gravity fed loader. So as you can hear, there's enough play in the system that the rounds, you can kind of mush them around and get them into the gun, no matter kind of what 7-shot gun it is. But again, thrown it up in the air, I spiked this off the ground a few times, specifically into the button, and it retained the rounds no problem. As far as any issues with releasing them, perfectly smooth. It's a high quality product. My biggest concern is how to index this while I'm carrying it to know which finger to activate this button with, because it's not that gross motor movement like this or a Comp 2 or Comp 3 where you just smash it, or like a Speed Bees or anything. It's not that gross motor movement where it's lined up and we just push and drop. So with this, it's line up, press, and drop.
How heavy is it?
It's super light. It probably weighs the same as one of these SLs. I mean, I'd have to go weigh it to tell you the amount, the exact amount, but it is machined aluminum, and some of the functional parts look like they're machined Delrin inside. But it's a very high quality loader. Of course, it comes with a high quality price as well. So these and these cost the same, about $45.
Yep, that's about the way it goes with loaders. You have to play with exotic options once you get outside the realm of 6-shot L frame and 6-shot A frame.
Yeah,
6-shot 44.
Yeah, exactly.
Just run speed strips, man. Be a man.
Yeah, but kind of one of the fun things about this is you can drop the rounds in and then and now we're locked in.
That's nice.
Hell yeah.
That would be a winner for a J.
Yeah, so
these Comp 1s are not friendly to load.
Yeah, so these Speed Bees loaders, I think on their site they have them for 5, 6, and 7 shot 38 357s right now, and I think they said there's more coming. I don't know. I just bought one because I saw it. I don't know. Would they announce them last week? I want to say. And it was
2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, and so I ordered one. But again, high quality product. Just got to figure out how to use it and be relatively efficient.
Well, with that, I guess I'll move on to Ruger. There's only two things Matt and I talked about. Was the Taffin, the perfect pack-in pistol. I know there were some issues with that. Maybe somebody who knows more can elaborate. And then I know he said there were lots of little issues. I know the wrong height sights seemed like that was something that popped up a lot. I know nothing about Rugers other than knowing what I know now. I probably would have bought some LCRs and just called it a day. So with that, the floor is open.
So this is actually this is funny. John Taffin was my grand mentor. He trained my master gunsmith, the guy who taught me revolvers. He was here in Idaho. He lived here in Idaho. I mean, it's I wish I got a chance to meet him. It sucks because Mike, our master gunsmith, so many stories about him, and we've sold a bunch of those Taffin guns through the shop. We were able to get a few in for people locally. They're basically just Vaqueros. Or I should say they're the Bisley version of the Vaquero, which is a little different grip and profile. But again, like 95% parts commonality. And Vaqueros are the best single action design out there. They are also one of the worst built single action pistols out there. Just because, again, they're building it's all MIM parts. It's armors. It's kids slapping them together. I have worked on more Vaqueros than probably anyone outside of Cylinder and Slide. And they're just, it sucks. I mean, you get in there, it's rough parts, it's rough finishing, it's cast marks, it's, there's flashing on them. We've had some that just look like ass. And, the Taffin gun, what you're really paying for is that Taffin signature. You're paying for John's legacy. You're paying for being a part of that. Aside from the exterior finish, the interior doesn't look any different than any other Vaquero or Blackhawk that I've ever worked on. Same gun. Vaqueros, Blackhawks, the Taffin Bisleys, literally the exact same gun. The only difference is the Blackhawks got better sights.
So do the parts clean up pretty well when you go to put your magic on them?
Yeah, when I do it. But, again, like we'll do I'll put it this way. We go to like one of the cowboy matches about once every 6 weeks, go work ringside. And we had a really slow time. We only did 25 guns in the space of 2 days. That was slow. We've had some we've had some crazy weekends at these matches. And Vaqueros are just, it's a better design, but again, what bites them in the ass is the quality compliance. Just parts that are just oversized or undersized or improperly finished or out of alignment. I mean, You know, it's execution, execution, execution.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Rugers come through our local shops, and they're generally pretty solid. If they're things like GP100s, LCRs, I will see single sevens and single sixes come in that have either loose or broken rear sight blades right out of the factory. I've seen sights be a little wonky. I've seen some finish issues, but not like egregiously.
And the finish issues are kind of hard to describe because like it's all internal components. But it's kind of like what Dave said before about he was talking about how his firing pin block, or the firing pin transfer bar, was misaligned and it was screwing with his ignition. We see that in Vaqueros all the time. In fact, I've been seeing a lot of those come through lately, where the transfer bar is not profiled correctly on the undercut of the hammer. And it actually interferes with ignition. And again, like I worked on more Vaqueros than anybody I know. It's actually starting to be a problem. I've actually stopped recommending them to cowboy shooters. I've been telling them go pick up Cimarron, go pick up an El Malo. They're cheaper and it's a better produced. It's not a better design, but it's a better produced gun, if that makes sense.
Now,
That's unfortunate.
I think we can all agree, though, that the LCR 22, that's by far the best snub-nosed 22 on the market, right? I mean, those things they run like a rape date.
No competition.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole LCR premise, I mean, Ruger essentially, and a lot of people don't know this, Ruger they don't just do casting for the firearms industry. They are one of the largest in like casting, like foundry type places in the country, and they do parts for automobile manufacturing and all sorts of other stuff. And the LCR, like it was mentioned earlier, you know, like a revolver is not like a you know, a Glock or an M&P or whatnot, where yeah, there's a number, you know, there's a number of parts in it, but in all reality, there's multiple things happening at once, and as long as it relatively lines up, everything works. Whereas the clockwork of the revolver thing, well, Ruger figured out with the LCR, which is why they generally have a pretty good, you know, pretty smooth trigger pull and all that kind of stuff. They figure out how to. We have a big bin of parts. Like here's this bin, here's this bin, here's this bin. Grab a part out of every bin, throw them in the frame, and it works. Okay, now take these 20 guns, take everything apart, throw them all back in the bins, put them back together again, grabbing random parts, and they work. And Ruger has figured out how to do that, which is why the 22 LCR is the best 22 on the market, and it's why LCRs are generally really functional guns. They're not the nicest guns, but they're very functional guns. And why, if Ruger made an MCR instead of an LCR, you know, everybody's waiting for Smith to make. Not, I know, Matt, the K-frame version of this, you know, a new 315, which I would buy in a hot second. But if Ruger made something like that, I would also buy it in a hot second.
You make an LCR this sized and 38 and 32 H&R mag, and you have a winner.
Yeah, exactly. And Ruger they have the capability to do it and make a gun that's functional.
And honestly, the way they set those guns up in the factory, an LCR usually has a way better trigger pull than anything short of like a 442 Deluxe, as far as J-frames go from Smith's.
That was one thing I was pleasantly surprised with at Revolver Fest was, you know, how much better the LCR trigger is. I think a lot of people debate the false reset or whatever it is. I don't know. If you run the trigger like you're supposed to, I don't see that being an issue. I was going to say the other gun that I would think would be a real winner would be the 40 Smith and Wesson guns, especially if you want to play like gun games. From what I understand, the Rugers are hard to kill, especially the GP 100s. They don't require you to like have multiple guns and like, you know, have one gun that gets rebuilt halfway through a match season.
Yeah.
So
depends on your firing schedule. It's generally always good to have a backup, but yeah, for the normal user who's going to shoot a USPSA match maybe once a month or IDPA, same deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not going to break them firing them too fast.
The LCR's got it's unique. It's a very unique design. I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 guys in the country who have tackled like an action job on an LCR, and I did it against the advice of my betters, and it was a lot of work. And you see some really cool stuff going on in there. Like so, it's that handoff and the transition and the clockwork. It's a little more predictable. The timing is set in such a way that cause follows effect, or effect follows cause a little more linearly instead of a bunch of simultaneous stuff. The downside, though, is that because it's got short grip, short hammer, you've got to have a stiffer hammer spring behind it. So the trigger pull is a little smoother, but it is also heavier.
Yeah.
So you got to stack more energy into a shorter throw because people really like that short, DAK style reset as opposed to the full swing on like an 856.
Yeah. But again, you scale that up 20-25% in size, make it a 6-shot 38 that weighs about 20 ounces. And that's a friggin' winner of a gun. And of course, companies are like, oh, but it doesn't say Magnum on the side. Oh God. And it's like, we don't care.
Well, that was the big thing with Taurus. They released the 856 executive grade. Oh, it doesn't have a hammer and it's not a Magnum. So what did they do? 605 executive grade.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dudes who, referring to what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about, why do people shoot magnums? I've met some dudes who shoot magnums just so they can brag that they shoot magnums. And I've been shooting recreationally for a long time. I am a gunsmith. I will straight up tell you, I am a bitch when it comes to recoil. I don't care who knows it. I am very recoil shy. So if you're out there running full power 230 grain 44 mags all day, power to you, man. Congrats. I am not that guy.
Those help a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make sense to kill your hands, especially if you work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally does nothing. I mean, what's the deer going to know if you shoot it with like the DB high desert load or the Buffalo Boar?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to know any difference.
Yeah.
I can understand it when you start dealing with things like dangerous game and wanting to have the horsepower you can get, but those really need to be things that start with like 0.45 and not things that start with 0.35.
Yeah.
Well, and so much that when you're talking about game, bullet choice is the number one determinator there. There's like conventional wisdom for dealing with grizzlies and moose, right? Everyone's like, you got to carry a 44. Shit, there was that guide in Alaska earlier this year or last year, killed a grizzly with a 9mm.
Yep.
And they just said, what did you have? He goes, it was like 125 grain hard cast bullets. He took him a few rounds, but he's like, look, the holes go to the same depth. It's especially
you get a lot more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
like I got to go out of Glock 17, right? Versus your 6-shot 44, your 5-shot 44.
If you look into bears that are shot, most bears are shot and killed with a 9mm. If you look at reports where you can find info on it or an interview.
Yeah, there's and it's mostly just because that's what people have. Now, occasionally people like what Eric was talking about, the guy purposefully had hard cast 125 grain or whatever it was rounds loaded in his 9mm, which is like if I'm going to be that, I have one gun and I'm really freaking good with it, and so I'm going in the woods, so I'm going to put hard casts in it instead of HSTs or gold dots. Like, that's
147 grain trunicated flat nose would probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not loaded as hot, but yeah, they'll do damn near the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the antimony is when we talk about hard cast, that's lead alloyed with antimony. And I don't recommend it for personal defense because it's going to go through multiple targets. Like you were talking like 30, 40 inches of ballistic shell penetration. But if you're
the YPD learned that the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So stick to hollow points if you're domestic. But if you're out in the woods, and they're not even that expensive. Buffalo Boar costs about as much as decent defensive ammo.
And it won't blow up your gun.
Well, with that, it depends on the gun. and the load. So
your Charter Arms Bulldog with 44 outdoorsman's loads. Probably not going to live very long.
Right. Or your 432 UC with their like outdoorsman 32 mag ammo, as we saw with that review.
Yep, and that was a tie gun too.
Yeah, and then on top of that, what appeared to be a bent yoke from smashing it with a 2-pound
most creative
stapler.
use of the stapler I've seen, like especially recorded. I mean, I've hit some shit with like an impact using it as a hammer, but that's a new one even for me.
Yeah. I mean, like we talked about, I'm not going to discount that there may have been issues with that gun from Smith, but I certainly think he exacerbated whatever may have been wrong by smashing the gun with the stapler.
But that was the second gun.
Yeah,
that was a 432.
Yeah, and again, I'm not discounting any potential issues the gun had, but I certainly think he exacerbated it and probably bent the yoke by hitting it with that stapler. But
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, but that was an issue of, again, like that's some of the hottest 32 mag ammo you can get, and putting it in a super light gun, and then oh crap, the case won't extract because it's sticky, because it's a tie cylinder, and titanium is strong because it flexes, not because it's rigid, and so the case is stuck like glue in the cylinder because of physics and metallurgy and all that kind of stuff. And that's like, yeah, maybe I get it, range trips, not everyone can go and shoot 20 rounds in the ravine behind their house like I can, but at the same time, I would like take a freaking cleaning rod with you, and if you got to tap a case out with a cleaning rod, that's a heck of a lot better than smashing it with whatever you have handy. Which
there is no gross mortar. There's no gross motor skill mortaring of the revolver.
Right.
If it's stuck, all you're going to do is center punch your hand or whatever you're bashing it against.
Yeah, and that's not to talk trash on any particular person, any particular reviewer, but if so like this 65 is a steel gun, and if I put the butt of this gun on a hard surface and then I strike this with a hammer or a piece of wood or a stapler, if I strike this hard and repeatedly like this, because you're not going to hit it straight up and down, you're going to hit it like this, and we have the camming effect of the butt of the gun and all that stuff going on, you're not going to hit this directly straight, and what's going to end up happening is this alignment right here, you're going to mess up this alignment, and when you close the gun, there'll be a gap right here, and then all sorts of other wonky stuff is going to happen, because then all the internals are not going to line up properly. So I would very, very much recommend, as part of your range kit, just have a cleaning rod in there. If you get a stuck case, the nice thing about revolvers, like open it and use the cleaning rod to tap the case out from the front.
So we're going to have to regulate hammers like you do Dremels on plastic guns.
Put the gun away in the range bag, take it home, put it in your vise, address it properly. If you need some advice, get a hold of somebody.
Yeah.
Don't just start abusing these guns.
One of the best tools you can have in your range kit is like a 1/4 inch brass rod.
Yes.
A 6-inch brass rod, and it make like a 1/4 inch. Like, get a heavier one. And if you're running any kind of a handgun, you'll be amazed. Like when you shoot seriously, and you're like, "Oh crap! I've got the bullet drifted out of the bullet cannula drifted, or I had a round separating in the chamber, blah blah blah." Having a rod you can just beat the hell out of, like with proper leverage. I'm looking at Amazon. Look, $6 on Amazon. They'll send you 2 of them.
You can get sections of brazing rod from places like Tractor Supply, Runnings, a welding shop. Those work good for rifles and stuff. Something that isn't steel, so you won't screw your gun up when you're beating on it like that. But like I said, proper fixturing helps a lot too.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of like we've all been there. There was a time during the Obama ammo panic where part of your range kit needed to be a broken case extractor if you were shooting an AR. because the quality of the ammo was so poor. It was just like you would expect you would have this happen eventually, and multiple times likely. So a broken shell extractor was just like, that goes in the range bag because, you know.
I remember when we got the Otis kits and GWAT early on, and like that was a hot shit for a while. And Otis kits are great because they're so super compact. And it was like when I got over in 09, they were just like, yeah, no, listen, everyone's getting issued a standard cleaning kit as well. We're all like, well, why? We've got the Otis kit. Like, yeah, because you can't kick out a jammed up case with the cable. You've got to have the breakdown rod. And sure, I mean, it was a thing. You know, it's a handy tool to have. You should be able to clear instruction from your barrel on any gun that you got out with you.
Anything else on Rugers? I think we've kind of hit all the high points, right? I mean, they just kind of work.
Well, until they don't.
Well, I mean, that's like anything, but lots of little issues, but no major.
Yeah, as far as like the issues are finish, like Eric was saying, like where the parts aren't fitted properly. There's flashing, there's sharp edges from the machining, or you have sights that are not installed properly, things like that. But as far as the general functionality, I haven't seen too much with Rugers where they just don't work.
We hit on it earlier. David actually went into some detail about this, where these issues crop up, especially if you're the kind of guy who buys one of these guns and goes, yeah, this is a really cool little revolver. I'm going to take this and load it and put it in my nightstand or my stock drawer, and, you know, it'll be there if I ever need it. You got to really work these guns a little bit and make sure that they do function. They do things like hit to sights if you have fixed sights, don't exhibit bullet crimp, are reliable with the ammunition. They're really not any different than, oh, hey, I just went out and bought a Glock 19. I'm going to go shoot it a whole bunch to make sure it actually works. Revolvers are very reliable until they're not, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Revolvers are more tolerant of neglect, but they are less tolerant of abuse.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And when people say revolvers don't jam, they don't normally jam. If a revolver jams, that's you better hope you have another gun kind of situation. Whereas if a modern semi-auto jams, like an immediate action drill, whatever buzzwords you want to use to describe how you do an immediate action drill, will fix it. A revolver, if you pull the trigger and like the cylinder rotates and it goes click instead of bang, yeah, you just pull the trigger again. But if something happens to jam up the mechanism, that's not you can't immediate action that back into going and shooting. That's a big thing about revolvers, like what Matt was saying and what Eric was saying. You know, the neglect versus abuse. Yeah, you can throw it in a sock drawer for 30 years and the ammo could have green on it and it could have surface rust on it. And as long as the mechanism is still functional, you pull it out of there and pull the trigger and it's going to go bang. But
revolvers do not exhibit feedway stoppages is probably the phrase that should have been used.
Yeah, that's
when a revolver breaks, you need a workbench. When your semi-auto goes down,
you need a punch.
You might be able to have parts with it. You might be able to get it going again with a little bit of work, something you can do in the field. But the revolver goes down, it's time to get another one.
Yeah.
There's no revolver failure that is not a catastrophic failure, more or less. But revolvers are not foolproof either, though.
Oh no,
I have seen people short stroke them. I have seen them get hung up on that reset. They're not letting it run out. You can outrun the timing on a revolver, especially with older revolvers. That's why I tell people don't buy anything prior to 1960. You know, unless you're willing to put the time and the work into vetting it.
Don't worry, Mr. K38. Don't listen to the man.
Right. So one thing I will very seriously recommend to anyone who wants to learn how to shoot better, if you ever hear someone say ride the reset, you guys hear how many clicks that was? Let me try that again. Which one's the reset? So with that, if you watch slow motion video of like the world's fastest, best competition shooters, you will watch their finger goes in, trigger guard, trigger guard.
Yep.
They are losing contact with the face of the trigger because they have trained themselves. If they try to ride the reset, whether it's a revolver or a Glock or an M&P or an FN, like a SIG, whether it's DASA or DAC, good Lord, DAC, but they have trained themselves in order to not outrun the action or short stroke the action. They need to bring their finger all the way off the trigger. So if you have someone who's trying to teach you to ride the reset, that is very outdated doctrine, and I would recommend you look beyond what that person is trying to instruct. Is that a fair way of saying it without being a jerk?
No, it's perfect. Yep.
There is nothing more annoying than you sitting here trying to do this and ride it, and then you go, "Oh, I'm trying to do it. Oh, I just skipped a chamber."
Yeah.
Oh,
so
and now my round count is all screwed up.
I'll tell you the other thing that people screw up is they're too hesitant on the pull. Because if you creep it back, you can absolutely induce a situation where it doesn't completely index, or where the cylinder under rotates for a whole bunch of reasons I shouldn't get into with my hands on camera. I'm gonna be doing this for 20 minutes like an Italian.
And this, and then we have yeah.
Anyway, when you run a revolver, the trick is to be decisive about it. Pull it firmly all the way back, get off it, on it, off it, but don't half-ass it. This is why we teach people don't cock the hammer anymore, because that just induces errors and it induces shooting mistakes.
How many times have you seen that happen?
Yeah.
Because somebody slipped off.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, you can do that, but sometimes it gets bound up, and then guess what? You've got to take it to a gunsmith and possibly loaded. And I tell you what, I've got an upcharge for every live round I pull out of your gun when it shows up.
No doubt. Yeah, that was one of the things we used to have on when I was actually not my current shop, but a shop years ago. We started with a peanut butter jar, and then we went to like a gallon milk jug, and then we had like one of those giant pretzel jugs, and we just had a big label on it. And this is ammunition taken out of unloaded guns.
You remember Casey? You've met him, my partner.
I didn't hear what you said.
So Casey, my partner, he worked at a pawn shop for years.
Okay.
And he had a guy walk in and handed him a 12 gauge, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it's not loaded." And Casey's like, "This is absolutely fucking loaded." "Oh man, I cleared it." "Okay, let's go out to your car." He walks out there. He says, "Pop open the back." Guy opens the back door, and Casey racks 8 rounds of double-aught buck out of this shotgun. He goes, "Yeah, that was loaded." And the guy's like, "That's going to cost me some money, right?" And he's like, Yeah, it ended up costing him. Casey ended up billing him $50 for gunsmithing on the spot because he had to unload that gun.
Jeez,
it's an operational hazard.
Yeah.
Especially with the revolver is a great move if you're handing stuff off to people or demoing stuff or just playing show and tell, as we all did at Revolver Fest. Garrett, myself, and David. These little Zeta 6.
Those are great.
Cylinder fillers are awesome. Dummy rounds are good, but usually when you hand somebody an open cylinder, they tend to go, "What are these?" And then they all end up on the ground.
Yes.
The discs are a little better.
Yeah. And of course, because 5 and 6 shot master race, they don't make these for 7-shot L's, so I have to use dummy rounds in that 386. But that's another thing.
Saying 7-shot master race. No.
There you go.
Yeah, 8-shot master race. So when Eric was talking about timing and everything else, Matt has mentioned it. This is something I didn't used to know, but Y brought it up with me. So this is a 15.3 from like the mid-late 70s. So when you dry fire these guns, do it with both hands, because you put a wear pattern on them, and you can actually cause the gun to go out of time faster if you don't put some, whether you're left or right-handed, just with the other hand. Plus, at the same time, get a good sight picture, get a good trigger press, because people don't train offhand, weakhand, whatever you want to call it, enough when it comes to pressing a trigger, especially a double action trigger like on a revolver. but like this gun, like I took it apart and I was like, oh yeah, this thing's been rebuilt. This thing has some freaking stories. But its lockup is fantastic, but the timing is like, if I do the whole like creep the trigger, the like 30-second trigger press kind of thing, creep the trigger, I can cause it to it won't be all the way locked when the hammer drops with my left hand.
It's because your hand is too short.
Yeah.
Because like okay, again, I'm not going to do it. But your hand is
yeah,
when
exactly.
The hand is a little too short. That's what causes that.
It's at an angle now instead of being a square. Yeah.
Yeah, just the tiniest amounts, because the ratchets are perfectly fine. It's just the hand is just tiniest bit too short. But I can only make that happen if I do like I said, the super slow trigger press. If I press this at any sort of a normal rate, not even like a bang, just any sort of normal rate, it locks before the hammer falls.
So
with
what's that? If we move on to Colt, anybody have any issues with that? I was going to say, I'm just trying to give everybody the same amount of grief.
So according to people I trust, Y being one of them, the current production 4-inch Python is probably the best produced modern, like full-size fighting 357 you can buy, as far as quality control and trigger, the action and everything else. That, according to him and several other people, that they're kind of in agreement that if you want a gun out of the box, that for the price is the nicest gun you can get right now, the like 4 to 6 inch Python's where it's at. That's what I've been told. I don't have any personal experience.
The only issue I knew was the rear sight, and I'll shut up because I only have experience with a oh crap, what is it? A Cobra. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my style. So
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, not personal experience. This is people I've trust have told me this.
Dan Reedy sent me a couple of guns to work on a while back. He had he got me. It was a Python and the Diamondback. The Diamondback had a bunch of other issues that, if I remember right. Like it had a weird hitch going on that we had to fix. But like I get inside the Python, I look at it, I look at the manufacturing process, I look at the fit and finish. The Python, the Cobra too. I feel like Colt is using a lot of the same manufacturing techniques that Ruger does, that Smith does. It's MIM, it's centered parts. They're not using a lot of billet. And I feel like a lot of the Python love right now is people kind of remembering what a dream those guns were 45 years ago. And they're like, oh, the Python's a great gun. I was like, no, it used to be made by great gunsmiths. The design is not inherently superior. It's just different. So I don't know. I've not been super duper impressed with the latest round of Colt offerings. The ones I've had come in, certainly not for the money. Again, I've been telling people like, hey man, you want to go buy a revolver? Go get a Taurus. Just seriously.
It is so hard to beat on the economical side.
Yeah.
And an 856 is what, $320?
If I didn't get a Taurus, I would say go out and buy an R8 just because you're going to get something fun and stupid, you know?
If you got somebody with you who knows a little bit about revolvers and you can look at it before you buy it, look at pretty much any of the Model 10s, Model 64s, 67s. Look at them. You can have them sub $500 and get a really solid gun, but if they're wrong, they're way wrong.
Yeah, and there's not factory support for those guns.
Fortunately, every gunsmith in the country can do some basic work on those Model 10s.
Yeah.
Power Custom makes pretty much any part you'd need to rebuild the damn thing. So
yeah.
So Eric, though, what all have you seen on the Colts? Because I mean, I liked the Colts I shot, other than the Viper at demo day at Revolver Fest. I really liked the Grizzly. But for me, it's kind of hard to justify spending that money like we were talking about. I mean, it's kind of like if I was going to get another gun, would I buy 2 856 ULs or would I buy like one, UC? I don't know. That's kind of a hard choice for me. I mean, what are they, $1,300 north of that? Or are they more?
They're up there. And like I said, I don't think I would take a Taurus Executive over a Colt right now. Just just because I think Colt is banking on the Colt brand. I think that's where at least a few $100s of that goes towards. It's like getting a Denali versus an Escalade. It's the same damn car. You're paying 20 grand for the Escalade logo. It's the same thing with the Colt. Frankly, I like Smiths a lot better than Colts. I think they're easier to work on. It's more sensible, economical design.
I like that Colt Viper. Dan Reedy put out a really good article on them. He had a lot of nice things to say about it.
That was the one I worked on, was the Viper. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was
They look like really nice guns.
He accidentally sent it to me, but I did some work on it anyway for him. But
and they look like really good guns. They're a 4-inch service size 357.
Yeah.
Fixed sights, nothing special, perfect fire extinguisher gun, but I think they retail about $800, if not a little bit more.
Yeah. I want to
look
say
at something like that versus something like a 19.9 carry comp. You can find them used in that area, spend a little bit more. You get a gun with a lot more features. Yeah. It's really hard to justify it.
$850 for a Colt Viper, or you could get a Taurus 856 and a red dot and send it to me, and you'd still come out a little ahead.
Or get one of the tracker models, or just get a Model 65.
Yeah.
Taurus, not Smith. But there are so many options out there. It's a really good time to be a revolver guy, but you do kind of have to do your homework and do a little bit of research before you buy anything. But most importantly, you got to check it out no matter what it is, if you hammer any point.
Yeah, and I mean, really, with any of these guns from any of these manufacturers, you either have to be willing to be a little bit of a plumber, or you have to be willing to send it to someone who's an actual smith. In order to really have the product you're going to have your long-term high satisfaction of ownership use with. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way. And let me kind of make it, if you're watching this and you're not a nerd like we are, how many people buy a Glock and the only Glock stuff that's left when they're done is like the slide and the frame? Or not even the slide, like just the frame is left.
I've actually got a Glock at the shop right now that is, I think the barrel and the frame is it. Everything else has been replaced at this point.
So
the Glock of Theseus.
You beat me to it. I was about to say that.
Yeah. So you think about that. Now, I'm not saying working on a revolver is as easy as working on a Glock or an M&P, because most of the stuff with those, the parts are drop in. Most of the stuff, you don't need to fit things. You don't need to worry about timing, any of that. It either works or it doesn't. But for a lot of people, that high satisfaction of ownership comes after they tweak the gun. They say, hey, these are the things I don't necessarily like about the factory gun. And with revolvers, you need to approach it from that standpoint as well. The cost of entry for a lot of revolvers is going to be 15 to 25% higher than the same company's semi-auto guns, because like Eric was saying, they're not like these designs don't really work super well for like grab parts out of the bin, throw them together and everything works. They require a little bit more care to make a functional product, so they end up costing a bit more. But if you look at it that way, yeah, Glock perfection, except these other things I want to do with it. So, my Smith and Wesson is fantastic. My Model 10, my new Lipsy's exclusive Model 10 is fantastic, except, I want to tweak this a little bit. I don't like the grips that came with it, so I'm going to swap the grips out. Hey, like maybe I want to have a double action only hammer in it. So either I'm going to make the hammer double action only, I'm going to buy a double action only hammer and hope it drops in, or either fit it myself or I will pay someone to fit it. Like these are kind of the tweaks we're going to do to the guns. Or I don't like how the face of the trigger feels. So unlike a Glock where you pay $30 to $100 for a drop-in trigger and all you have to do is push a pin out and put a pin back in, if you keep the same trigger bar, with these, you take the gun apart, you reface the trigger, You refinish the trigger, or you buy a different trigger and you hope that it drops in. If not, you fit it. But it's the same kind of premise. You either, if you like the gun, how it comes out of the box, fantastic. Plenty of people have done that. However, that high level of satisfaction of ownership is going to require some tweaking.
If you are that burgeoning revolver curious guy who's looking to get into a revolver, pick one, try it. Don't really change too much with it, aside from things like grips, sights. I really wouldn't change much past that. Put ammo on the gun, shoot it a good bit. One of the best things you can do is go over to the tacticalprofessor.net and look through Claude Werner's articles. He has a really good video on how to paint front sights. Just a little bit of paint on your front sight with a black rear, you can do a lot of good work with that.
Yeah.
If you don't have the option of a red dot or replaceable sights, there are zillions of grips out there. You will find something that will fit your hand. I probably have 100 sets of grips down here in this basement just because I'm such a damn degenerate.
He's not exaggerating either.
That is not hyperbole. I bought 10 sets of grips this last week just because I saw them and wanted to try them and saw deals and stuff. There's a lot you can do. You can rarely really go wrong sticking to that. No matter what, if you want to start getting into the revolver smithing side of it, because no matter what you do, you're going to have to do a certain amount of it. Otherwise, your gunsmith bills are just going to be crazy. But head on over to AmericanFightingRevolver.com, pay the $5 a month, get in there, look for posts that are called Maintenance Monday, and start watching and listening, because they will give you decent amounts of know-how. Ryan with a Y will give you enough information to do the process, not enough to really bork the gun up.
So I got two more, and I'll throw one out there. We'll leave that for last. Diamondback and Kimber. I've only shot a Kimber. It was okay. I didn't like the trigger. This has been 5 years ago, so I don't know. I think they probably make the closest thing to a modern Model 12. I want to like them, but it's a Kimber. So,
Eric hit the wrong button and dumped himself out. He's asking if you could add him back in.
I will kick him and I will add him back in here.
All right. So one of the regrets from Revolver Fest is I didn't make it over to the Diamondback booth because I was talking to everybody and demo day was over and I was like, oh crap. Diamondback did a very smart thing with parts intercompatibility with J-frames. So you got J-frame grips you like, they work in Diamondbacks. You got J-frame holsters you like. Most of them will work with the equivalent correct length barrel Diamondbacks. I have read and heard good things, no personal experience. Kimber, most of the time seems like when people say they don't particularly care for the trigger pull, it's because there's a wall at the beginning, and that's because the hand is pushing on the ratchet and the bolt hasn't unlocked, which is what I mentioned earlier. That seems to be a fairly common thing with Kimber, and you kind of have to push through it. So that's got to get fixed, and then they've got a great trigger pull, but as far as reliability, accuracy, it seems like Kimber's really doing a good job with their revolvers.
Yep. So when that gun came out, the K6S, they solicited a lot of input from legacy revolver smiths like Grant Cunningham. He had a lot of input on that gun. The gun is a pretty known quality from what I can tell. I haven't had any experience with them just because I don't see them out in the wild. And they're rather expensive, I think. But they are a high quality product from what I can tell. As Garrett ogdadbod was saying, the modern Model 12, an aluminum 6-shot 38 that is fighting size, the K6X fits that description pretty well, being lightweight.
So what he's talking about, this is a Model 12. It's like an 18-ounce 38, an incredible gun. I literally just yanked it out of my pants. It was loaded and on me. It's still loaded, which is why I'm being cautious where I point it. But yeah, the modern equivalent of this, which is currently available, is the K6XS. And a buddy of mine has one. I've shot his. I've shot a few others, and they all seem to shoot about the same. I know it's been brought up that they're not centering their dots all the time on the front sights, but they all seem to kind of shoot to the sights with like the 140 and up grain 38 ammo.
And to touch on the Diamondback stuff, I was at Revolver Fest. I did not get a chance to go to Lipsy's or Colt or Ruger because they were just absolutely mogged all day. The Diamondback booth and the Taurus booth had ebbs and flows, so I got in there. That Diamondback is a win. They've got a 2-inch, I think it is a 357, but I shot 38s through it. It's a 2-inch, 2-tone with a green fiber front sight and a red fiber rear. Got a good double action trigger press. I can't say as I noted anything special about it other than it being a revolver trigger. So to someone like me, that would mean a pretty good revolver trigger because I'm used to old Smiths. And a pretty good trigger. It hit right to the sights. The only things I heard about that day were that the guns kept going down, specifically that 2-inch 2-tone. The 3-inch 38s seemed to keep up and running very well all day, but that 2-tone gun really needed to have some love.
What was wrong with it?
Armor on sight. I think they were having issues with the ratchet. I don't know if they just kept putting a new ratchet in real quick or what exactly they were doing, but the gun has a lot of promise.
It could be fouling.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed like the number one gun that was shot other than the 9mm gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually that's another thing about Diamondback is like the Taurus 692, they have a push button, yank the whole cylinder and crane out of the gun, which is really cool. I do like that feature.
Those guns are really quite compelling because, like some of the people on this call, I have a pile of J-frame grips and holsters kicking around. I know what I like. They come standard with Hogues, I think, from the factory. Those are pretty good grips that work for most people. But they're not proven yet, is the only thing I'll say. They're right about even with like a Taurus executive grade as far as pricing. They're bigger guns.
$1,100.
Well, MSRP, they're like 700 street is what I'm seeing. So that would be more in line with like a Kimber or some Smiths. They're rather expensive. I hope they come down. They seem like they're really high quality. Ryan Hamry of Hamry Forge has mentioned that he really likes what they have to offer. But I can't speak to anything more than that as I don't have one. I'd love to find one, but they just haven't permeated the revolver market, I don't think.
The review I was referring to earlier about somebody saying they had issues, it was Nightwood Guns. So
yeah,
okay. So that's why I couldn't find the article. I didn't care for the sights. Of course, I know that's a non-issue. If they just make a totally blacked out serrated rear, I could live with it. Didn't like the Kimber I was talking about. I didn't really care for the trigger, but everything else I liked. I mean, I was impressed. I mean, I know we kind of probably all hold a similar opinion of Diamondback ARs.
Yeah.
But I thought that was one of the wins. I mean, didn't particularly care for anything. There was nothing I couldn't live without. But
the way I described the Diamondbacks to everybody after I shot it, and I said this to Chris Baker too, was this is like receiving an MRE. This is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a revolver. Janae.
We were trying to work with Diamondback after SHOT Show. We met their head engineer. We talked a lot at the show about the sidekick too. Like we corrected the issue that they were having with it. Kind of fell through, which sucks because like we were looking at those guns and we were like, listen, like this is what we do is we do these double action pistol action jobs. Let's work it out. It kind of sucks. We really wanted to get a chance to get in there and really do like what we do with the Taurus guns and push them to the breaking point. Like can we get down to a 6-pound pole? I've done it with the RP63. Can we do it?
Kind of why I have these in stock now. I just want to wear them out and see what I can do with them.
I think they are an underrated gun. I'd love for them to get more coverage out there. See more people shooting them. I think it's just they don't have that brand presence. You know, Smith drops a new revolver, no one's ever going to question it.
Yep. Oh, that reminds me. I forgot to talk about the one feature I really did like that I thought stood out on that gun. J-frame grips, good sights, and it has a push button latch instead of being a pull or push button latch.
Yep.
Just has a button like a Ruger, which I think is an absolute win.
And it's ginormous. I mean, it's like a parking lot on that damn gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will throw my last one out there. For someone who's truly balling on a budget and wants a good warranty, and they somehow end up with a charter. Do we have anything for them? Because I've heard you dry fire the gun, it'll break. I've also heard they have a great warranty. They'll take this old gun from the 70s and rebuild it and put all these parts in. What's the verdict? Is stay away? What? I know nothing about them other than Son of Sam and the 44 Bulldog.
So I have talked to some people. I have not owned a charter. I have seen quite a few people who carry them and shoot them, and I think they're I don't want to say something ignorant. I don't really think poorly of charter necessarily, but I would kind of consider a charter revolver to be like a kind of semi-disposable wear item. They tend to wear out more quickly than other companies' guns. And yes, their warranty is fantastic, and they will absolutely take a gun and rebuild it.
I got one of the Bulldogs in just as a shotgun, just to mess with it. I liked it. You know, the internal action. Again, it's well made. Build it where it needs to be. It's a small sample size. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of those come through. I would probably estimate it as being a lower tier than a Taurus or a Rossi. But again, if you're like, hey man, I'm really trying to stretch my pesos here, I would feel fairly confident carrying one.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I think I would.
Some cool guns. I mean, like the 380, the 40, the 9mm guns. Yeah, I don't think you have to take moon clips to them.
I would not necessarily tell somebody not to buy one. I would advise them that the guns they have a life cycle on them. They're just like your PMag 30-round AR mag. At some point, it will wear out. You will need to replace it or have some work done to it. The Bulldogs, from my understanding, are some of the best of breed there. The 38s I see sold a lot because someone will look at a new 442 or 642 or 637 and go, man, $500 is a lot for a J-frame. I know it says Smith and Wesson on it. And yes, I said Smith and Wesson because that's what they say. And then they see the Tiffany blue or gold plated or whatever charter and they buy it.
Yeah, for like
and for most people
$260 or whatever it is.
For most people, it serves a need. It's kind of like a High Point C9. If it works, it's probably going to keep working for as long as you really need it to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those guns that even if someone's going to carry it and practice with it a couple of times a year, I don't think they're going to necessarily wear it out. But if it's someone who's a nerd like one of us, we're going to wear that gun out. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when you're going to wear it out.
And for context, this Taurus that I picked up last week has not been fired yet. As I said earlier in the podcast, I dry fired it about 1,500 times.
Yeah.
I think that would probably break a charter.
Statistically speaking, most people will put maybe 200 rounds through a revolver over the lifetime that they own it. I mean, over the lifetime of the gun, 200 rounds is a high round count for a lot of revolvers.
Well, we're going to the family reunion, and Uncle Dale, who likes guns, is going to be there shooting his rifle. I'll bring the revolver along and shoot it a couple times.
2 cylinders.
Yeah.
Especially if you feed it a lot of magnums. Because magnums are expensive and they hurt.
Yeah. So,
guys, like, I mean, it always cracks me up when you see like a 454 or 50 up for sale on like a local page, and it's like, yeah, we only put like 50 rounds through it. I'm like, yeah, because it sucks to shoot a 454. You don't do it, Mr. Caleb.
Oh, hey, crazy. This came with the box of ammo, and there's 3 of them missing out of 25.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was like the Smith had a 4-inch 500 at demo day, and and I was like, hey, can I get a couple of rounds for that? And they're like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And it had like 4 inches of barrel, but then it had 2 inches of comp on the end of the 4 inches of barrel.
And it's an X-frame made out of steel.
Yeah, exactly. It recoiled like the recoil impulse was less than the recoil impulse of this shooting like mid-range 357s. So, it just makes a big fireball. It's a good way to turn money into noise and fire.
That's the other way to do it, as opposed to renting a machine gun. Yes.
Yeah, which I have plenty of those, and those are an excellent way to turn money into noise and fire. It's fun. But yeah.
I got to give you a holler about getting around this ITAR shit, man. I want to get another machine gun for the shop. I just don't have to pay the freaking fees for it.
Are you trying to import one?
No, but if you manufacture, I'm sorry, no, we'll get on a whole tear. Sorry.
Revolver. Maybe that's not a recorded conversation.
No.
How do I commit a federal crime?
No, anything which occurs between my 7.2 and his 7.2, oh, you're that way on the screen for me, is going to be on the up and up with the appropriate paperwork.
Yeah.
But with all that, I mean, I think we've kind of beat everything to death. What can the companies do to, improve some of the QC other than, if you do have an issue, let them know about it and send it back. I think that's the best place to start, other than you can scream into the void on the internet and post pictures, but unless they're getting turns, it's not really doing anything.
I think what needs to happen is we need to get the information proliferated about what to watch for, and guns don't need to be sent back by the end user. They need to be sent back to the distributor. That's what's going to cause them the most pain and make them fix this.
Yeah, because as has been said a number of times, Smith and Wesson, Taurus, Ruger, they don't sell guns to us. They don't sell guns to the shops. They sell guns to distributors. Yeah. And if the distributors go, yo, what the fuck? That's going to get their attention more than even a couple of thousand, because there's not that many people like us out there that are actually like taking these guns apart, digging into them, shooting them enough that these problems really surface. So when the distributors go, hey, we have a problem, and then from the manufacturer side, if you have to make every gun $25 more expensive to put 10 minutes of QA/QC into it, do it. And then you wouldn't have this proliferation of issues that we're seeing across the industry right now.
It's either that or you need to have like an absolutely no bullshit, anything goes warranty.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to do that, and I totally respect, you're like, hey man, $25 is too much. Okay, I want to know that I can pick up the phone and call you and get a shipping label sent to my house the next day so I can send this to your guys to work on it. If you make it a no hassle guarantee, people will forgive an awful lot.
Yes, but you can't just have the guarantee. Like Taurus forever has had an unconditional lifetime warranty, but for a long time, that warranty might as well not have existed because of how they dealt with the warranty, which was you might get a different gun back. Your gun might sit there for 9 to 12 months and you call them and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And you're like, here's the info you sent me. You have my gun. And they're like, what? I mean, so the manufacturers, if they have that warranty on paper, they need to follow through physically with the warranty process, which that's one of the great things about the leadership with Taurus currently is they seem to be doing that. When their guns do have a problem, they're no bullshit, no problems. We will fix it or replace it.
And they get it in and get it back out pretty damn fast.
Yes.
And it's running about a 4-month lead time right now on repairs. It's myself and a few other people have been getting as of late. I think something else that would help a lot if the manufacturers were willing to do it and fire all these lawyers that are hamstringing them is they've got to have an armorer base at some point, at some level.
Well, and that's part of the problem is that, okay, like my bench rate, I'm the cheapest gunsmith you're going to find. I'm $60 an hour. That's my bench rate. Most guys are 90 to 110 right now. And on the other hand, if you're Taurus, if you're Ruger, if you're Smith and Wesson, and somebody sends back a faulty gun, you can pay some kid $15-20 an hour and just tell them just swap parts in and out until it works again. And it's a valid economically speaking, it's a valid strategy. Now you may
Mhm.
run into other issues. And if you're smart, you do have a gunsmith. You do have a person who's you don't mean a gunsmith, but a diagnostic expert who can look at a gun and go, this gun has a specific problem, and here's the specific solution for it. But it's all about layering those options out. Most big shops, including Diamondback, including Taurus, do not have dedicated gunsmiths like what me and Dave do, where we're diagnosticians, where we're looking for problems. They just have kids who swap parts in.
Yep. I mean, in the mid to late 19th or probably 20th century there, you could absolutely go, hey, Smith and Wesson, this gun that you sold me isn't right. And they would direct you to their authorized factory repair facility. And it might be in the nearest city. It might be a sports retailer. It might be something else. Glock has been pretty good about that with their program and everything, where if you take it to a GSSF match, they'll rebuild your damn gun if they need to. Pretty impressive. It's a lot harder to do with revolvers, and I do understand that. I do wish they would offer level of factory training. There probably is not going to be a full workload available for somebody to do, but if somebody wants to send a gun 3 hours away instead of 15 hours away, and they can at least do it or have parts supply to get it done, that might be a better option for them.
I think it's a liability thing.
Absolutely.
Like it is 100%. It's the lawyers. They're like, no, because like if I screw up a gun, right, that like Smith and Wesson, all right, we're gonna send Nelson the gun. He's gonna work on it. He'll be our representative. And I screw it up. They're still on the hook for liability, as opposed to them saying either send it to him and we want nothing to do with him, or we'll take care of it. And at least it's covered under our policies. Because vetting a gun, I actually understand this because like vetting a gunsmith, that's a process that takes another gunsmith. You got to have an expert on hand to go out and vet the guy and go, no, this dude's full of shit, or this guy knows his stuff. But if you don't know how to do that, then you're increasing your liability with no net gain, as opposed to offering slightly diminished customer service. There's like maybe 12, 15 guys in the country, I think, who are working on revolvers seriously as like a primary occupation. I mean, it's like us, it's cylinder and slide, and we're by far the youngest.
Yeah.
Nobody else wants to do it because they're hard to work on and it's a pain in the dick. And when they don't work right, they really don't work right. So the shops are just like, screw it. It is cheaper to send you a new gun than it is to like effectively diagnose and repair a problem gun.
Yeah.
So Ruger, you should listen and make an MCR.
Yes.
Or just like, I don't know, spend like a couple of man hours pushing whatever ultralight gun somebody is willing to make for me. I don't care who it is that makes one. I just want one. Like, give me a 856 with a actual rear sight. I don't want a gutter.
Well, that's one of those. Theoretically, anyone who's a machinist could put an actual rear sight on an 856.
Or they could put the Toro, right? As long as it's steel frame. That's what
a lot of meat there to use.
There's plenty of meat. We've done it.
Yeah.
We've converted 65s to red dot.
Yeah. And I mean, hell, if you want a rear sight, like you buy a Smith rear sight assembly, and it's cut a notch, and you run a flat, you run a flat mill up, you drill 2 holes, and I mean that's oversimplifying it. There's fixturing and measuring, all that stuff, but like that's a known quantity, and that would be
you could cut a basic bitch dovetail in the back.
Really, you could do that, yeah.
Mini Novak sight, anything.
There's enough meat back there. We've looked at it. They'll hold up.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to hold a sight in place. It's just, do you want like a fully adjustable sight, or do you want a fixed sight, or whatever it is that you're actually trying to do?
Well, if we're asking about what I want is for Loophole to get with somebody and take this here 905 and stick a Delta Point micro right across that, right there, from about there to there, and then run all the wiring and everything down under the grips, so that I can have a freaking red dot that I can still put in my pocket.
Booligan
Yes.
A
came
J
up
frame
with
or on a
yeah.
2-inch gun.
It's the Booligan design, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he and I have
Yeah.
talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
We attacked that too from our end. I've got some ideas on how to do it, but none of them are economical or really practical.
And at the end
It's
of the
like-
day, you still have a Delta Point micro on your gun.
Right. I mean, we really did. We really took a hard run at it, and we just like the best solution I have seen is the one where they replace the entire side plate.
Yep.
And I think
The
it's just for
rock
Smiths.
mount, yeah.
Yeah, it's just for Smiths right now, I think.
Yeah, just J frames. And
And the problem with that is, now the gun isn't pocketable. But it makes a lot of sense for somebody who's older and carries like a Model 60 or
yeah.
Something like that wants to carry it on their belt. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I reached out to them and I was like, you guys think about doing K frames? And they're like, we're just making J frame stuff right now. And they cut, that open-ended, we're not going to say no, but stop asking us questions.
Hello, I have to give you this canned response because I would like to still have a job.
Right. Right. But I mean, really, if you think about it, if it's a matter of, and another thing with dots and revolvers is if you are carrying, especially if you're appendix carrying a revolver, most dots sit way too far forward and you are defeating the concealment mechanisms of the holster by the dot sitting too far forward. This is in front of me, but this is from Checkerboard Creek. Super cool dude. I've been talking with him a bunch, but JP also makes a very similar mount, which is on my 19 carry comp that probably the whole freaking industry has seen. But this sits far enough back that your belt line sitting right about 3/4 of the way on the cylinder, which is about where it should sit. This doesn't defeat what a wing does. This doesn't defeat what a wedge does to tuck that grip. And a lot of red dot mounts, or just dot mounts because they're green and gold and all that kind of stuff, the front edge of the dot is here. Right.
Yeah.
And
this is my R8, but yeah, it's forward of the cylinder a little bit.
And if you try to inside waistband conceal that, whether it's appendix or like 3 to 6 o'clock, you have this, you have a whole ass thing sitting here pushing, which is rotating your grip, which is the part difficult to conceal. It's rotating the grip out, and it's fighting against the concealment mechanics of the holster. And so another thing we really need to do is, like, the swing of this hammer, it'd be pretty simple to even make a dot mount that sits back to where the front of the dot is, especially with the smaller dots, the front of the dot is like kind of even with the rear of the cylinder. You can still make it so the hammer's not going to hit it.
Yep.
And that definitely would help as well. But of course, this already looks kind of goofy. You have the back of the dot sitting, kind of hanging out in space over here. I think, you have the people look at it and go, well, that looks like a piece of shit that's not going to hold up. And you're like, it's made out of grade 5 titanium and it weighs 1/4 of an ounce and you can hit it with a sledgehammer and it won't bend. And they're like, yeah, but it looks fucky, so I don't like it.
In 1980 called, they want their gun back.
Right.
I'm not gonna cut this short. I just want to end it now with the recording. Does anybody have anything else? I'm happy to stay on and chat for a little while. The file's going to get massive, so.
Yeah,
no, it's okay.
One thing I did want to say while I was up, one recommendation I do make for your revolvers, especially for new revolver shooters, do talk to a competent gunsmith about reducing your springs. Most revolvers are massively oversprung from factory. Like the trigger spring is almost twice as strong as it needs to be, and the hammer spring, there's a lot of room for adjusting it. Now, a shitty gunsmith is not going to know what they're doing, and you'll get misfires. But if you're having an issue getting that pull in, learning how to isolate this muscle group in your forearm that stabilizes the gun, we've seen really significant results from reducing the trigger pull by playing with those spring weights and doing some action work internally to ensure efficiency. That is a completely valid mod to make to a revolver to make it more shootable. Just make sure you send it to a a Revolver Smith, not a regular gunsmith, a Revolver Smith, because it is really easy to get it wrong at the same time.
Yeah, that's when you end up with the click and then finger comes off, and because this is not improperly sprung, it won't happen. But your finger comes off and the trigger moves that much, and then it sticks. And
Apex
you go, oh shit,
J-frame
what do I
kits.
do? And then you tap on the gun and it resets. You're like,
Well, with that being said, anybody want to give a plug or anything like that, and we'll end it.
Good here.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to join this group of people in their degeneracy and listen to me rant and wax eloquent about dumb things involving revolvers, consider joining the primary and secondary Discord. There's a lot of good information just from the modcasts, but man, there's a lot of degeneracy of all flavors going on in that Discord.
Yes, there is. Yes, we welcome all flavors of nerd. It's all beautiful.
And it's a bunch of nerds.
Absolutely. Yeah, since Matt brought it up, I'm one of the guys in charge of the Discord. Other Matt Landfair, who's the owner of Primary and Secondary, trusts me to keep an eye on everybody for some reason.
Yeah, well, and with that being said, I'm going to cut it. I hope to God somebody will make a lightweight, medium frame, optics ready revolver next year. And with that, I'm going to end the recording.